Imagine waking up at 3 a.m., your mind buzzing, your hand itching for a pen. The words don't stop, they stream out of you, chaotic, unrelenting. Pages pile up on the floor. The walls of your room, your desk, even the bathroom mirror, they're all covered in ink. You don't remember when it started or why you can't stop. The writing isn't just a hobby anymore, it's a compulsion. And yet in that moment you feel alive. This isn't creativity, this isn't inspiration. It's something darker, something your brain won't let you escape. Why does the human mind fracture in ways that turn self-expression into obsession? How can the simple act of writing, a universal tool for thought and communication, become a relentless, uncontrollable force? Psychologists call this phenomenon hypergraphia. It's a condition where the urge to write overwhelms reason, sometimes consuming every waking moment. From scribbled journals to entire novels penned in feverish nights, hypergraphia blurs the line between genius and compulsion. But what drives it? And more importantly, could it be lurking in your own mind? Segment 1. The disturbing history. Hypergraphia isn't a modern invention. It's been recorded in strange, almost mythical accounts throughout history. In 1890, the French neurologist Édouard Claparède documented a patient who, after a minor brain injury, began filling notebooks with endless, incoherent writing. The entries ranged from poetic fragments to obsessive lists of names, dates, and cryptic symbols. Claparède's observations hinted at a darker truth. The brain could trigger behaviors that were no longer under conscious control. Fast forward to the 20th century, and the condition appeared among some of history's most prolific writers. Vincent van Gogh, better known for painting, reportedly scribbled letters and diary entries at a frenetic pace, sometimes dozens per day, despite mental instability. These bursts of hypergraphia weren't just a quirk, they were a reflection of neurological storms within the mind, where creativity and compulsion fused inextricably. Some cases were more sinister. In the 1970s, a patient known only as Patient A was hospitalized for temporal lobe epilepsy. After seizures, he would write incessantly, pages upon pages of obsessive, often nonsensical text. His condition wasn't just about output, it was a symptom of a brain that had rewired itself into obsession. And the pages he produced were inescapable mirrors of his psyche. Segment 2. The Science of Obsession. What happens inside the brain to make words pour out like a river you can't dam? Why does a simple idea transform into an uncontrollable compulsion to write, to document, to externalize thought before it disappears? Hypergraphia is most often linked to the temporal lobes, the regions tucked behind your temples that orchestrate memory, emotion, and language. The right temporal lobe, when hyperactive, can trigger manic bursts of writing, an unstoppable flow of ideas that demands immediate expression. Conversely, damage or stimulation to the left temporal lobe can produce compulsive verbal output, a neurological insistence to vocalize or inscribe thought. It's as if the brain's internal brakes have failed, leaving the mind's pen in overdrive. But it isn't only anatomy. The story of hypergraphia is also chemical. Neurotransmitters, the brain's invisible messengers, govern how we feel reward, motivation, and obsession. Dopamine, in particular, acts like a faucet of pleasure and compulsion. In hypergraphic patients, this faucet is left partially open. Writing doesn't just satisfy an intellectual urge, it becomes irresistible. Each word, each sentence, releases a small flood of reward, tiny doses of chemical validation that reinforce the behavior. The mind begins to crave the act itself, independent of meaning or purpose. Seizures, head trauma, and psychiatric conditions such as bipolar disorder are frequently linked to hypergraphia. During manic phases, patients describe a torrent of words, an urgent need to record thoughts before they vanish like smoke. The brain's feedback loops intensify with each stroke of the pen or key press. The more the person writes, the louder the compulsion becomes. And the effect isn't confined to traditional writing. Hypergraphic impulses can manifest in obsessive note-taking, endless diary entries, or compulsive doodling. The mind transforms into a machine, and the output, pages, scrawls, digital text, becomes a tangible echo of neural overdrive. In these moments, writing is no longer a choice. It is a neurological imperative, a reflection of a brain caught in a self-perpetuating storm of thought, obsession, and chemical reward. Hypergraphia, in its rawest form, is the perfect collision of anatomy, chemistry, and compulsion, a haunting glimpse into the machinery of the human mind. Segment 3. Famous real-world cases. Hypergraphia has haunted some of history's most extraordinary and tragic figures, leaving behind a trail of brilliance entwined with obsession. 1. Vincent van Gogh. Beyond the brushstrokes of his iconic paintings, Van Gogh's letters reveal a mind gripped by compulsive writing. His correspondence with his brother Theo sometimes spanned multiple letters per day, overflowing with feverish detail, sketches, and emotional intensity. He would describe the colors of the sky, the texture of a field of wheat, or the tremor in his own hand with a meticulous, almost obsessive precision. Scholars argue these letters are more than documentation. They are a window into a mind oscillating between inspiration and torment. Each sentence, each paragraph, was a release valve for the unrelenting mental pressure inside him, a relentless need to externalize thought before it dissolved into chaos. 2. Fyodor Dostoyevsky. The Russian novelist's compulsive writing was tightly linked to his struggles with epilepsy, particularly the seizures that sometimes preceded mania. During these periods, Dostoyevsky would write with almost superhuman speed and intensity, completing entire novels while in a state bordering on delirium. For him, writing was both salvation and compulsion, a means to impose order on an inner storm, yet simultaneously feeding the frenzy that drove him onward. His works, imbued with psychological insight and moral complexity, may owe their depth to the relentless rhythms of his own hypergraphic episodes. 3. Alice Flaherty. A modern neurologist, Flaherty has openly chronicled her experience with hypergraphia, offering one of the clearest windows into the condition today. She recounts moments where she felt utterly compelled to write, not selectively, but obsessively, documenting everything racing through her mind. In her words, "I am compelled not just to write, but to write everything, all at once. It is terrifying, exhausting, and yet utterly irresistible." Her experiences illustrate that hypergraphia is not simply a quirk of genius. It is a neurological force that can overtake even the most self-disciplined mind. Across these cases, a haunting pattern emerges. Hypergraphia creates and destroys simultaneously. The same neural circuits that allow for extraordinary insight and creativity can trap the individual in compulsive loops of expression. These stories force us to confront a chilling question. How much of human creativity is deliberate choice, and how much is the unyielding, uncontrollable machinery of the brain? The twist in application. You might think hypergraphia is rare, confined to geniuses or epileptics, but pause. Have you ever found yourself unable to stop scrolling, note-taking, or journaling after an idea strikes? Have you ever scribbled down thoughts in a notebook long after you plan to sleep, or felt an itch to type out feelings into your phone at 2 a.m.? Perhaps you've drafted a message, erased it, then redrafted it several times, not out of doubt, but because your mind simply cannot release the thought until it has a permanent record. These moments, mundane as they seem, are echoes of the same circuits that drive hypergraphia. The difference is scale. While most of us can stop, hypergraphic individuals cannot. For them, the pen or keyboard becomes a lifeline, a vessel they cannot abandon. The underlying mechanism, the compulsive reward loop of dopamine, the pull of recording thought, the urgent need to externalize what exists only fleetingly in the mind, exists in everyone. It is a universal vulnerability, quietly shaping how we remember, process, and organize the chaos of consciousness. In essence, hypergraphia is a mirror. It reflects not only a rare neurological disorder, but the subtle compulsions hiding in every human mind, the desire to document, to control, to externalize thought before it vanishes. It reminds us that the human brain is never idle. Even in our quietest moments, it whispers, pushes, and sometimes demands. a relentless architect of obsession, innovation, and unspoken fears. The line between control and compulsion is thinner than we imagine, and once crossed, the mind can turn even the simplest act of writing into an unstoppable force. And here's the unnerving part. If the mind can be hijacked by words, what else is vulnerable? Memory, perception, even morality. Our brains are full of circuits that can be twisted into compulsion. Next, we'll explore the psychology of intrusive thoughts, the hidden mental whispers that push us toward actions we would never consciously choose.